Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to my first segment of Testimony Tuesdays. I have two special guests with me, actually, and that's why I wanted to do a little bit of an intro before I brought on the recording that we did earlier this week for their testimonies. Is because I actually have a married couple on this week, and so well, this week and next week. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. Is that I'm going to split things up into two parts. So the wife, Miyah Tyther, is going to be giving her testimony first. And then her husband, Ryan Tyther, is going to be giving his testimony next Tuesday, again at the same time, 12 p.m. And so they both have some very, very powerful testimonies. So I really hope you guys check out both of them. They do have some overlapping stories and things like that. So make sure you check out both of them. They're very, very powerful, very touching. And I'm really, really excited to have these guys on, or this couple on, as my very first guest. So today is going to be Miyah Tyther. Next week is going to be her husband, Ryan Tyther. And you guys hold on to your seat belts, or however they say it, because these testimonies are absolutely exactly why I wanted to do this show. So here we go. Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to my first Testimony Tuesdays, and I'm doing now for my podcast platform. Of course, if you guys know me, I am Sage the Coach. I'm a certified life and relationship coach, and my show Outside the Box usually airs on Saturday at 12 p.m. But I have a lot of new stuff I'm starting this year, this 2022, and one of them is called Testimony Tuesdays. Testimony Tuesdays, I kind of had the idea before, I actually employed it or put it into action, but I became much more ready to do it after I did my Christmas show and my New Year's show, where I interviewed a bunch of past guests about their life lessons of 2021. We had some great stories, you guys, some great experience, some great testimonies. And so if you guys missed that, you can go back and watch both of those shows. I did a part one on Christmas Day and then a part two on New Year's Day with a combined, I think I interviewed about 10 people. And so that really got my passion going for testimonies. Like, I've always loved testimonies. And I really like hearing people different stories. A lot of them resonated with me. And that's the thing about God, because when you do things, it's not really just for other people. It comes back to you too. And so I got a lot out of it. And so I really wanted to get this going now with Testimony Tuesdays. And this is my first show. So I will be doing these on Tuesdays from now on, hopefully every Tuesday if I can get enough people in. Tuesdays at 12 p.m. So you guys make sure you tune in every Tuesday to see the guests and the testimony that you will hear that day, because we can all use some encouragement and to really understand that God is still with us with everything that we go through in this life. And so here is Testimony Tuesday. So for my first Testimony Tuesday, I have special guests with me, Ryan and Miyah. I do not know how to say you guys' last name. So can you say it first so I don't butcher it?
It's actually pretty easy. It's Tyther, like tithing.
Oh, it's just like it sounds. Okay.
Yeah.
Tyther. So Ryan and Miyah Tyther, and they are here to discuss, faith and standing, trusting God through your different circumstances, and how we kind of, we always expect things to go a certain way. Like, that's our biggest problem when it comes to following God. That's why I created my show Outside the Box, to help people see that God is not going to operate in your little box. Most of the time, he's not. And so you have to be willing to see outside of that box, and for let God to bring you outside of that box to really get the fullness, to understand who he is, who you are, who the people are around you, and things like that. And so we have to go outside of that box. And so Ryan and Miyah are going, Miyah, oh my goodness. Ryan and Miyah. Ryan and Miyah are going to talk about their testimony about walking with God, and how things didn't turn out the way that they expected it, and the power that comes from, and the growth that comes from just standing in faith. And so if you guys want to go ahead and jump in there and let's hear it, I'm ready to hear it.
All right. Sounds good. All right. So for me, back in 2013.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me introduce you guys for a moment. So I'm just like on the go here, because I had so many computer problems. We kind of running late. And so I'm just like ready to go. But let me slow down.
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan and Miyah, can you please introduce yourselves and let everybody know who you are?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm Miyah.
I'm Ryan.
And we're the Tythers. And what we do is we are Ethereal strategy consultants, and that means that our gift is being able to see other people's souls and what dimension they are in while they're in the physical realm. So what we do is we help people walk themselves out of hell back into heaven while they're living, so they can live the abundant quality life that God called them here to live, because he did not call us to come here and suffer. If you are glorifying suffering, then you're in Satan's realm, not in God's. So that is what we do.
Okay.
And we're launching an app that actually helps people. We call it the path out of hell in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
And you can go on there and find anything that you could be dealing with in your life, from depression, anxiety, addiction, going through something with your colleagues or your spouse or anything like that you may need some more insight to. Because, a lot of people, they don't read scripture and they don't connect with a church, and there's just so many stigmatisms and blockages out there that keep people at bay away from God. So we were like, let's bring them home without having to need of that, so that they don't have that blocking them from getting there. So,
outside the box. Absolutely. Okay. And Ryan?
She kind of just, said everything that we are. For personally, I'll get more into that story as we go, but I kind of joined in on this journey with her because she started back in 2013, and I met her over in 2018, and it's been an absolutely insane journey. I have an entrepreneur background. I got into entrepreneurship back in 2012. I ran a couple businesses in the foreign exchange market, and I met some really cool people. I used to hang out with billionaires, used to hang out with millionaires. Like that, I was in the circle. If I would have stayed in that realm that I was in, I could easily have a lot of money, but at the cost of my own soul, at the cost of suffering and not really being able to enjoy life, thinking I was enjoying life because I had money, but not really. So I have a very good business background, and I'm now taking everything that I've learned in that industry, and I'm trying to get people to see the demonic side of it. And I'm not trying to, bash the industry, because there's a lot of good in it. There's a lot of things that can be learned from it, personal development, really working on your mind and growing as an individual. But it's about discerning between what is of hell, what is of heaven, and being able to use that to grow and become more spiritual in your path with God. So that's
sovereign business.
Yeah, sovereign business. We show people how to do it the right way.
Wow, that sounds really good. Yeah, wow. It's definitely needed. I did a show a little ways back about the deception of success. And so I had some guest speakers on. They were very, very successful in their careers. And then they, kind of turned things around, made some really big changes in their life to kind of do things the right way instead of just chasing that success and those titles and that money. So that was a really good show. If anybody, you want to check out that show, you can look at the videos tab under my page, and it's called The Deception of Success. Okay, so we did the introductions. Now let's get into the meat of your testimony. So go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So back in 2013, I was a stay-at-home mom. I was in a marriage that was falling apart, was mentally, physically, and verbally abusive. I kept telling myself that I could save this man, and I was his savior. I was put there for a reason. He had potential. And at the time, we had very little money. We were surviving $40 a week with a family, with groceries, right? So we were eating microwave meals and just the worst things we could put in our body because it was the cheapest thing that we could eat. And the more that we put the trash in our body, the more we were disconnected from actually being able to communicate with God and fulfill our purpose. But anyway, in that time, I remember I broke down on my knees and I prayed to God for an answer. Like, I'm living in a trailer that has holes everywhere. There's mold, there's roaches, there's all these things that are going on. And thank you. And I knew there was a better way. I knew there had to be a higher quality life, that I did not come here to just live like that. I knew it. Like, at one point I was living where I took the blanket off of my son and there was holes all in it from rats eating it while he was asleep.
Oh, wow. That's pretty dangerous. That's pretty dangerous. Yeah.
And these are big rats. And so anyway, I was also very addicted to methamphetamine and cocaine and alcohol and weed and Xanax and anything that I could get my hands on to escape my reality, because it was easier to just escape it than to face it and make the choice to leave what I was tolerating and allowing, because it was my own fault for being there. But at the time, I didn't know that. And I was blaming everything but myself.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, 2013 was when I made that prayer. And I remember that I was looking at opportunities online, and there was this one opportunity that showed up, and they said $40, you pay this and you can make money online. And at the time, $40 was my whole week's worth of groceries. So I was like, you lost your mind. That's too much for me. I can't, poor man mindset. I can't afford that. So anyway, I passed it by. 3 weeks later, another opportunity arrives, and it's an online make money thing. So this time they said, for $11, you can make money online. And I'm like, oh, $11? Of course, 11 of all numbers. But anyway, I was like, $11, I can pull that off. I can at least borrow 5 from my mom or something. I mean, I can pull this off. Well, this opportunity ended up taking me 3 weeks to complete to get in because there were so many hoops I had to jump through. By the time I got in, it equaled $40 total. That's what it cost me to get in. I'm like, are you kidding me? So obviously I was supposed to go in this direction. When I got into that industry, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I had never been online doing sales, none of that. I didn't even know what I had signed up for. And my person that signed me up ran off and didn't tell me anything about it. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And I had a conversation with somebody in the group, and they kind of like explained it to me. And I had that aha moment. It clicked. Oh, this is easy. I can do this. I've been in sales my whole life, basically. So I can pull this off. I made 5 figures from that business.
What?
I remember, yes, I remember the first $20 I made online. I was standing in front of my big box computer at the time because we didn't have the laptops then. And I was screaming, jumping up and down. I just made $20. And my son looked at me and goes, and what's your point? I'm like, I didn't have to leave the house to do it. That's my point. Right here beside you.
Wow.
I went all in on that. I went in on the personal development. I started looking in every place that I could to find out more about me, because I felt like the more that I knew about me, the more I could rise up who I was and be a better person for myself and my family. So during that time, I started making more money from home than my husband, who was going to work.
Wow.
And instead of being supportive of, this is amazing, you're helping me out, I can just grab your card and go do what I need to do, it was very negative. You need to stop doing, you're always doing that. Like you should just sit here and just suffer with me.
Right. Wow. Let me ask you, I know people watching are probably wondering, what were you doing? So what exactly was it? Were you selling a product, or were you just like a middle person kind of sending people down the line, or like, what were you doing?
It was actually called Zip Not a Zilch, Z&Z. It was a trial offer program. So if you got people to sign up for a trial offer, they could then make money by getting people to sign up for a trial offer. And the thing that I went with was like, you can cancel the trial offer within 7 days and you still got the ability to make money. So that was what I pushed. And I helped people do that, cancel it, and still make their money.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I made my first 5 figures online and had no idea what I was doing.
Wow.
So after that, it was that Christmas. I had already been addicted to drugs for so long that all the days began to blur. And I'll tell you another testimony later, but I had OD'd, and that was when I met I met Satan, I met Jesus, I saw the kingdom, I saw all of it in that one. But anyway, it was Christmas, and we had tons of gifts because now we had money. So the tree was packed with gifts. I stayed up all night long wrapping all the gifts. And my only thought on Christmas Eve was, where can I get my next bowl of meth at? Instead of, let me go to bed and be here for my children in the morning. No. Let me go get my fix and think about only myself. That's where I was at. And as I was sitting there in that room on Christmas Eve, thinking to myself and like hearing my own self and seeing my own actions, something clicked right then. And I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I am so fed up with this lifestyle. And I grabbed the bowl and the bag that I had, smushed it inside of a sock, threw it in the trash can, and walked away and told everybody that I hung out with, don't come around me anymore. Because I don't want to be around you. I don't want part of this anymore. And that was when my life started to go up. From that point forward. So anyway, after a few years, we end up with Dream House.
Let me ask you really quickly. So I know you prayed about, is there a way out of this? And that would revolve more around like finances. So about this particular, when you got tired of the drugs, was there any prayer with that? Do you feel like God helped you with that? Or do you feel like you just made up your mind to do something and you just stuck with it? But was God involved in that in any way? Or was it just you wanting a different life?
Well, now you're taking me back to the other thing I was telling you about when I OD'd,
Mm.
because that was what got me to finally say I am done. And it had to do with God, because I sent my son to school and I died right after in the bed that I was just laying beside him. And I didn't even know it. For the longest time, I wouldn't even accept that as a truth. I would just say it was a dream.
Wow.
But the longer I went and the less attached I got to that, I realized what actually happened that day. And when in that moment, I was standing in front of, someone tall, dark, and handsome, going like this and snapping his fingers, and everything that I could even think to desire was appearing and manifesting right in front of me. And I felt so uncomfortable and disgusting that I was just backing away from it. And I was like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. And then all of a sudden, something tapped me on my right shoulder. And when I turned around and looked, there is what you would call Jesus standing in front of me. We did not speak. We spoke through our soul to each other. And these two balls of golden light came flying behind him. And they built these two stairways with a platform and another stairway that went up to a throne. And then in an instant, he snapped his fingers. He was at the top of that throne. Beside it was a wall that kind of like halfway built itself. And there was a dirt road that went beside it and went down into a deep, dark valley it was just darkness. And at the top, sticking out just a little bit, were these green, lush mountaintops where it was just bliss and peace and nothing dark about it. It was just light. And in the center of it was a golden city. And he waved his arm and told me to go down that path. And I forgot everything, and I didn't even care about coming back to earth. I felt everything there, and I wanted to go home. So I started going that way. And right as I was about to go down into that valley, going that direction, I stopped myself and I looked at him and said, I can't go. And he said, what do you mean you can't go? And I said, I have to go under the knife first. And he basically said, your wish is my command, and snapped his fingers. And I was back in my bed and sat up breathing like what felt like the first breath I've ever had in my life, a true breath that I was breathing.
Wow. So what did you mean by you have to go under the knife? What was that?
Well, for the longest time, I thought that I was going to have surgery and die and go right back there. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you send me back or allow me to come back over something like that?
Dissected.
Yeah, to go under the knife and then just die again. What purpose does that serve? So I ended up having a surgery. I had to get my gallbladder removed when I was right after I gave birth to my third son.
Same thing happened to me.
Yeah. So in that moment, I'm telling you, I had so much anxiety sitting in there waiting on them to cut me, because I was like, I'm about to die. I know I'm about to die. They told me, they said, ma'am, I've gave you all I can give you to calm you down. I can't give you any more or we will kill you. And I was like, she said, I really need you to calm down or you're going to kill yourself in this process. And so I finally calmed myself down and was like, all right, if I die here, I die. I'm embracing it. That was the thought that I had, because I have to let it go. And I came back, and it took me about 5 to 6 years to finally realize that what I meant that day was that I had to put myself on the cross and dissect myself and find out everything about myself that was not of God, that was hiding inside of me, that had no place to be there, and remove all of it from me. That was what going under the knife meant.
Wow. So basically, when you were in that barrier between reality and spirituality, the spiritual world, what you spoke was actually prophetic. It wasn't even really you. It was the spirit speaking through you as far as why you needed to go back. That's what it sounds like to me. So yeah.
And I didn't even understand it at the time. Like I said, it took me years to even go, oh my God, that's what that meant.
Yeah. And I know, like, it's I've talked about or asked on my podcast at times, like, about people, how they communicate with God. And one of the things that I say that I always get weird looks at is when I tell people that God has used my own mouth to talk to me. So I would say things And I didn't understand what they meant. And it was later that I would be like, oh, that was God. Like he was using my own mouth to tell me something. Yeah.
We were just talking about that like right before we got on here, because he
Yeah.
does do that. He teaches us all through our own mouth.
Yeah.
We're all just extensions of him. And that's what we try to get people to realize, is that please get out of his way.
Yeah.
He just needs you to surrender what's already his back to him, because that vessel you got, that ain't yours. That's his.
Exactly.
He created that.
Exactly.
And it had a purpose and a will for it. And if you just move out of the way and stop trying to be out of alignment with him, you won't suffer the process.
Yes. And actually being out of alignment with him is the essence of sin. Like that's what sin is that when we're not in alignment with God, because when you're in alignment with him, everything flows, everything is perfect, your needs are met, like everything is where it's supposed to be. So absolutely. But let's not turn this into a sermon. So let's pick up to where your story. So you took you a few years to really understand what was going on, and then continue with where you were going with that.
Okay, so after I made that money online and realized I needed to take a different route, we finally got into what we would call it at that time a dream house. We were living in Jacksonville, and it was how many square foot? 30 something.
Like 2,600.
2,600, whatever. It was a big house. That from going from a trailer into that, it was a big difference. So 2 months after getting in that house, my husband says, I can't do this anymore, and books a Greyhound ticket and leaves. The funny part was that we had an argument at first, and then God lifted the veil between us so that we could see clearly that this is not supposed to happen and we're not supposed to be together. And we peacefully separated with each other. And as soon as that peaceful separation happened, he went back to the veil being over his eyes and back to his normal behavior. But God opened that veil long enough for him to be able to let me go, because that was important.
Wow.
So anyway, when that happened, I had no way to pay the bills. My income was spotty with online, and I was teaching Forex at the time. So I didn't have money all the time. So anyway, I was left with having to get a job that was in the political realm. So I was doing petition work, going out and getting people to sign petitions. It was great money, but it required me to travel. So during that time, I had to let go of the house, let go of my belongings, let go of my dog, let go of my children at that time. God wanted me to do all of that. My mom, kids, everything, and was like, you've never stood on your own feet by yourself without being under your mother's roof or under your husband's roof. And now you're about to find out who you are. And he took me on a journey with nothing but a bag, nothing else. My bag, my clothes, that's it. And I got to figure it out on my own. And he took me all the way across the country to California, where I knew nobody. So I had no one to call upon except him. He was the only thing I could lean on through the whole process. And during all of that, he showed me that all of the beliefs I had inside of myself were just programs that I was running from someone else's mouth. He had someone ask me, why do you believe that? And why is that? And why is that? And the third why was what broke me. That first one, I could answer it. That second one, I got you. That third one, you went way too deep and it don't make sense. So I can't answer that. And when I realized I can't answer that, I don't have truth in me.
Wow.
And in that moment, I got angry. I was so upset. Talk to me. Don't look at me. Just stay away from me right now, because I don't know up from down, and I can't communicate until I do. And so that's what got me to go inside myself. But that journey, when you decide to walk with God and you think that you got everything figured out, you got the house you're supposed to have, the car you're supposed to have, the job and the spouse and all these things that you think you were supposed to have because you picked them and you want them, he's going to show you real quick like that none of it belonged to you and none of it was his will. And if you don't let it go and you say, I want to go to the kingdom, and he's like, okay, cool, but you can't bring that with you here. You got to let go of it all. And that was what the journey was. And we all get taken on that journey. That's why I wanted to talk about that today, because it's not just specific to one person.
Yeah.
The moment we choose God, he's like, buckle up, baby, because I got stuff for you.
Right. And it's not just material stuff. It's like what
No.
you said, it's your mind. Like you can't bring those ideas, you can't bring that thinking, you can't bring those feelings into my house. They don't belong there. So let me clean you up. Like, and I think a lot of times we convict ourselves. We feel like we're unworthy because we have those things. And he's saying, no, you can put those things down. Like that's not who you are. So yeah, wow, I really love it. And I totally agree. I've been a Christian for like 20 something years, and the breaking and remaking that I have experienced within those years, oh, it was difficult. Don't get me wrong. And I do understand why some people don't do it, because it's not for the faint of heart. I will tell you that. But if you can do it and you get to the other side, it makes all the suffering very small in comparison to where he brings you to. So absolutely.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
And people can't discern between pain and suffering.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
when you're going through actual suffering, it's when you are in hell. You are out of alignment with God. But when it's a little uncomfortable and a little painful to face yourself and see all that you've allowed and tolerated and done to yourself, that's not suffering. And they have to realize the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Because that pain is going to free you, whereas that suffering is going to keep you enslaved.
That's a very good analogy. Wow, that's really good. So, and there you have it. That was Miyah Tyther's testimony. She's great. She's awesome. I really love her. I love her energy. I love like the passion that she, comes at when talking about God and what she's been through and stuff like that. I really kind of connect with a lot of things that she's saying and the spirit behind it, how she's saying it, whatever. And so you guys, please make sure you come back next week for Ryan Tyther, because it just gets better from here. So thanks for tuning in once again, and I'll see you next week.